Hey everybody. So, these are fake. They're in fact two different casts, epoxy casts, of two different right canine teeth from a Smilodon. Saber-toothed tiger, as it were. Something I found out that I found very strange. The Paleolithic people who lived alongside these animals in the same environments and competed with them for game there is no evidence that they ever used their bones or their teeth to make tools. I had wondered why. I figure they would have. But that would be in the Americas. In Europe, there's one instance of, I think it's at Schöningen in Germany, there's one instance of the Schöningen spears, one of the Schöningen spears, I don't know how many tens of thousands of years old, being found with tools made from a Homotherium, different saber-toothed cat, a Homotherium femur, which has been turned into a flaking tool for making stone knives. I suspect that utilizing bone to make tools for making stone tools, I figure stone tools are probably sharper, more effective, and more durable than bone tools. That and bone may in fact decay away as being it being organic. But I had it in my head, since these things are so effective at killing animals larger than themselves, why wouldn't Paleolithic people make this into a knife? It's already got a sharp edge. They were in fact at that point, they weren't in fact at that point harvesting grain to anyone's knowledge. But other than a sickle, it could be a karambit or something similar. Fighting knife. So I'm thinking I'm going to turn one of these into a knife. Just a showpiece, not a practical object. Thought to myself, well, a wooden handle might do it. And since it's just a showpiece, I could just use an old piece of dry cut cedar. I'll shape this down, and what I'm thinking of doing is putting a groove about 1/2 to 2/3 in there, the width of this blade, or this tooth, to sit it in like that, blade edge exposed, probably about that deep, leaving plenty of room for handle, and still having an effective blade. It's being saw cut, of course, I have to rough the edges and make it look Paleolithic. Next step in this is going to be trying to figure out how to attach the two. Once that groove is cut, I could drill through and tie it. I could use one of the other tricks that Paleolithic people, even Neanderthals, if we're talking about Europe, they used glue. I could glue it in place. I may well do both. So I have to make this and this look like, well, I'm going to use glue, but I have to make this look like it was carved with a knife, not a saw. And I have to make the holes look like they were drilled with a stone drill, not a Black & Decker. So that's a project for right now. first step, I think, is going to be knocking off this knot on the back, which is going to be the bulk of the mounting point, taking the bark off, and shaping it. So let's get started on that. I think that's about the best view you're going to get. So, you take a rasp and roughly shape this down, rasping a knife, get the bark off of it, get these large knots out of the way so I actually have a grip on it, and this knot here, I want to rasp down. I'm going to start with the small one first, make it easier on myself. It should go pretty fast. Yeah, it's pretty good. Next one up. Go up in size a little bit at a time here. I'm debating, once I carve out the groove in this, whether I should just glue it or glue and tie it, because I've got some artificial sinew that kind of looks real. Try to make it look as Stone Age as I can, even using modern materials and fake bones. And it is fast. Not trying to make it look old, mind you. Just make it look like it was done prehistorically. Like using prehistoric techniques, etc. Get a knife and chop that down. As I said before, I do wonder why this specific sort of tool is never found to have been made in the Paleolithic, considering how resourceful they were. One would think that they'd make use of a resource like that, like a sharp object naturally occurring, such as a tooth. But maybe stone tools were sharper. It definitely would have been easier to get, but if you happen to kill one of these things, I think those teeth would be very useful. And I'm going to have to round the sawed edges of this down too. Not sure how I'm going to go about making it look at the end, but whether I should leather wrap the handle, leave it as it is. Sinew wrap it. Use jute to simulate a, well, not simulate it, because it is a plant fiber wrapping. getting better? Let's see what I can do with this surface here. The rounds, let's switch to the 4-in-hand. That was pretty good. Might thin down the handle a bit. Let's see. That and that inset like that. Yeah, make for a pretty interesting looking tool. Okay, next will be cutting that groove in. I'm going to have to round the top edges over. But for that, I'm not going to go Stone Age on how I do it. I'm just going to get a drill and cut it a groove. I am, however, going to mark it just on the side and the top so that I know where that line's going to have to go and be parallel, and how deep it's going to have to go. So I'll mark that on. I'm going to get the drill, cut the hole in it. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm going to show you how to do this. As good as I can, anyway. Before I drill this hole, I'll find a spot where you're kind of level. Now, you want the hole this deep. There's the depth. Yep. There's your depth. Hold it with your finger, don't touch your trigger. At that point on the drill bit, you get a piece of tape. You put that on the drill bit. You see this done in 1,000 videos. Everything from home improvement stuff to restorations and everything else. Arts and crafts. And no one ever explains it. So you drill the hole until you hit the tape. Then you've got the right depth. Again, it's something simple that just nobody's thought to explain when they're doing it. Some people might not know. Also helps if you have stuff in the vise tight before you start drilling. There we go. No, that's not going to hold. Okay. But as good as it's going to get, unfortunately. Let's see what we can do. Well, that's where I need it to be. Now the depth for the other hole is until they hit this hole. Aimed for it. Only gone that deep. Should be hitting it soon. There we go. Now between these two holes, not to that one, I've got a couple lines marked. What I'm going to do is take a saw and a knife and cut those and then chisel the rest out as best I can. I'm going to make it as smooth as possible with the files and such, but yeah. I'll cut that out, and then I'll bring you back and show you how this tooth fits in here. Okay, so after much suffering and carving, managed to get it in there. An interesting hole to shape out, but it fits. Next step, I'm going to shape the handle the rest of the way. Then I'm going to get some epoxy mixed up and jam that in there good and tight. After that, we'll talk about the wrapping. One thing I might do, once it's in there, as well as it can be in there, glued and jammed in and everything else, I might drill a hole through it. Maybe. I'm debating on it. Actually, I might drill a hole through the tooth before I resin it in so that it's full of resin and hardens up and holds in place better. It is just a prop. It's just for look. Because that's all going to be covered in fake sinew. That's all going to be carved down. But all in all, it's not a bad looking piece so far. So the next step, as I said, is going to be shaping this handle a bit better. It's kind of a big grip. I'd like to shrink that grip down a little. And other than that, shrinking the grip down, I'm going to shape that top, carve that to round so it angles up towards the blade, makes it smoother. I'll do that, and I'm going to round the bottom. Okay, so yeah, next step will be carving this top. Get that out of there. So let's carve that top up. It'll be fast with the rasp. Get in the middle of the screen there. I don't mind marking up this handle with the vise so much. Because as I said, I am gonna be doing a lot more carving on it. Ow. Starting to get better already. That's coming up pretty good. So yeah, go all the way around the back, around this side. I'll bring it back once it's all shaped as best I can shape it. And then I'll show you what it looks like all put together. So, we got it shaved down, shaped a little better. Better handle, better grip. It's gonna have to sand it before I can sand it after I do the gluing. So next step is going to be gluing it up. I mean, works pretty well, lines up well. It curved up towards the edge there. That's rough, but as I said, I'm going to sand it after the fact. It's going to be an interesting prop. Just a fantasy piece really, but a fantasy piece based on some little bits of reality here and there. What could have been. I don't have black pitch tar for glue. I don't have Neanderthal glue. Wish I did. So it's not going to be a black tar holding it all in. It's just going to be epoxy resin. Two-part epoxy. But yeah, I'll glue that in there. Then I'll start sanding it down, making it pretty. I'll do a wrap around here. Probably the artificial sinew that I got. Reason I'm using epoxy is it'll fill that large space, because it wouldn't be easy to fill this, or to carve this hole very, very accurately to fit this blade, tooth, whatever you can call it. So that'll be filled with resin. I'll sand it. I might mix the resin with some sawdust, just to make it look better. But anyway, that'll be it for right now. And I'll glue it up, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards.